text message arrived at 2:47 a.m., shattering the silence of Jason Kai's penthouse like a gunshot through glass. I lost our baby because of you. 3 months gone. The doctors said it was the stress, but we both know the truth. It was that night, when you threw me down the stairs because dinner was cold. When you locked me out in the snow for 3 hours because I asked about the lipstick on your collar. When you told me I was nothing without you, that no one would ever believe me, that I deserved everything you did to me. Jason stared at his phone, his blood turning to ice. Our baby is dead, and it's your fault. I hope you feel that every day for the rest of your miserable life. I hope it haunts you. I hope you see what you took from me every time you close your eyes. This is the last message I'll ever send you. Goodbye, Marcus. Marcus. The message wasn't meant for him. Jason sat frozen at his desk, still in his suit from yesterday's board meeting, surrounded by the trappings of his empire. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Chicago's glittering skyline, artwork worth millions, furniture that cost more than most people's cars. None of it mattered in this moment. Someone had just poured out the most devastating loss of their life to the wrong number. To him, his mind raced, dissecting the message with the same analytical precision he used to dismantle hostile takeovers and negotiate billion-dollar deals. The details painted a horrific picture. Systematic abuse, isolation tactics, physical violence that had escalated to the point of causing a miscarriage. And someone named Marcus had walked away thinking he'd gotten away with it. Jason Kai had built his reputation on control, on calculated decisions, on never acting on emotion. But sitting there at 2:47 a.m., reading a stranger's anguish, he made the most impulsive decision of his 32 years. He was going to find her, and then he was going to destroy the man who'd done this to her. His fingers moved across the screen. This is Jason Kai. You've sent this to a wrong number. But I've read what you wrote, and I need you to know something. What happened to you wasn't your fault. Marcus is responsible for his actions, not you. And if you'll let me, I can help make sure he faces consequences. He hit send before he could second-guess himself. 3 minutes passed. 5, 10. Then, finally, those 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Who is this? How did you get this number? Jason typed quickly, aware he had a narrow window before she blocked him. My name is Jason Kai. I'm a CEO in Chicago. You texted my personal number by mistake, probably 1 digit off from who you meant to reach. I know this is invasive, and I apologize for reading something so private. But I can't just delete this and forget what I read. Please, tell me you're somewhere safe. The reply came faster this time. I'm fine. Please just delete the message and forget you saw it. I shouldn't have sent it anyway. It won't change anything. It can change everything, Jason wrote back. But only if you're willing to fight. Are you safe right now? Are you somewhere he can't find you? Longer pause this time. Then, I'm at my cousin's apartment. He doesn't know where she lives. But it doesn't matter. I tried pressing charges before. His family has connections. The police won't help. Jason's jaw clenched. He'd heard the story too many times. Powerful families, corrupt officials, women whose voices were systematically silenced. What if I told you I have connections too? Ones that supersede local politics. What if I told you I could help you build a case that no one could bury? Why would you do that? You don't know me. This isn't your problem. Jason stared at that message, considering how much truth to reveal. Finally, he typed, I had a sister. 5 years ago, she was in a relationship with someone who hurt her. She tried to leave multiple times, but he always convinced her to come back. Promised he'd change. The last time he killed her. By the time I got back from a business trip, it was too late. His hands shook slightly as he continued. Her name was Minji, and every day since, I've wondered what would have happened if someone had intervened earlier. If someone had given her resources, protection, a way out that didn't depend on a system designed to fail her. I can't bring my sister back, but maybe I can help you. Please, let me try. The silence stretched so long he thought he'd lost her. Then his phone rang. An unknown number. He answered on the first ring. Hello. Is this Jason Kai? The voice was feminine, exhausted, with a rich depth that suggested she'd been crying for hours, maybe days. Yes. Is this Imani? My name is Imani Foster. She took a shaky breath. I don't know why I'm calling you. This is crazy. You're a complete stranger. And I just told you the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Sometimes strangers are easier to tell, Jason said gently. There's no history, no judgment, no expectations. Or sometimes I'm just desperate enough to believe someone might actually help. Her laugh was bitter, broken. Do you know how many times I called the police? 7 times. 7 times I called 911, and they sent the same officers who go to Marcus's family barbecues, who play poker with his uncle, the deputy chief, who look at me, at my black face, at my natural hair, at the neighborhood I live in, and decide I'm the problem. Jason's grip tightened on his phone. Tell me everything. Start from the beginning. And she did. For the next hour, Imani Foster told him about Marcus Bennett. How they'd met 3 years ago when she was finishing her graduate degree in art therapy. How charming he'd been at first. Flowers, poetry, grand gestures. How the charm had curdled into control so gradually she hadn't noticed until she was completely isolated. How he'd systematically cut her off from friends, convinced her family she'd grown distant on her own, sabotaged her job opportunities until she was financially dependent on him. How the first time he hit her, he'd cried after, begged forgiveness, sworn it would never happen again. How it happened again, and again, and again. I finally got pregnant 6 months ago, Imani said, her voice cracking. And for a minute I thought maybe it would change things. Maybe becoming a father would make him want to be better. It got worse, Jason guessed. So much worse. He accused me of trapping him. Said I'd gotten pregnant on purpose to keep him from leaving. Which was insane because I was the one trying to leave. She paused, composing herself. 2 weeks ago, I told him I was going to stay with my cousin for a few days. That I needed space. He lost it. Said I couldn't leave, couldn't take his baby away from him. That's when he pushed you down the stairs. He didn't push me. He threw me. Imani's voice went flat, detached. The tone of someone recounting trauma they dissociated from. Grabbed me by my arms and literally threw me down a flight of stairs. I remember hitting my head on the wall halfway down. Everything went black. When I woke up, I was bleeding. So much blood. Jason closed his eyes, rage and grief warring in his chest. My cousin found me, took me to the ER. They couldn't save the baby. Said the trauma from the fall caused a placental abruption. My baby girl, because they could tell by then that she was a girl. She just stopped living inside me. Imani, I'm so sorry. The ER doctor asked how I fell. I told the truth. He documented everything, called the police. And you know what happened? Marcus's uncle showed up instead of regular cops. Told the doctor I was emotionally unstable, that I'd fallen during an argument because I was hysterical. The doctor tried to push back, but Marcus's family threatened to sue him for defamation. So no charges were filed. No charges. No investigation. No justice. Just me with a dead baby and Marcus walking around free, telling everyone I'm crazy. That I made it all up for attention. Jason's mind was already working, strategies forming. Imani, I need you to trust me. Can you do that? I don't trust anyone anymore. Fair enough. Then don't trust me. Just let me prove myself. Give me 72 hours. If I can't deliver results by then, you can block my number and never speak to me again. But if I can help you, if I can get you justice for your daughter, will you let me try? Silence stretched between them, fragile and heavy. What would you even do? Imani asked finally. You're a CEO, not a cop or a lawyer. I'm a CEO with resources. Money, investigators, lawyers who don't fold under pressure. Most importantly, I'm someone who learned the hard way that doing nothing is its own kind of violence. His voice softened. Let me help you, Imani. Please. Another long pause. Then, 72 hours. But Mr. Kai. Jason. Please. Jason, I need you to understand something. I'm not some damsel who needs saving. I'm not broken or weak. I'm angry. I'm grieving. And I'm done being nice about any of it. If you're expecting me to be grateful and docile, I'm expecting you to be exactly who you are. And from what I've heard, that's someone strong enough to survive hell and brave enough to fight back. That's not weakness, Imani. That's power. He heard her breath catch. Then, okay, 72 hours. But I'm counting. The clock starts now. Jason Kai didn't sleep that night. Instead, he made calls. First, to his head of security, Michael Park, a former Korean intelligence officer who'd saved Jason's life during a business deal gone wrong in Seoul. Michael specialized in finding things people wanted hidden. I need a complete workup on Marcus Bennett. Everything. Where he works, who he knows, what skeletons are in his closet. Focus on financial records, communication logs, and any complaints filed against him that mysteriously disappeared. How deep do you want me to go? Michael asked, understanding the unspoken question. How far into legally gray territory? Deep enough to bury him, but clean enough that everything holds up in court. Consider it done. Second call went to Catherine Morrison, the most aggressive criminal defense attorney in Illinois. She'd represented everyone from corporate executives to mob bosses, with a win record that made prosecutors weep. Catherine, I need you to take on a case pro bono. Jason, I don't do pro bono. You know that. You'll do this one. Domestic violence case. The victim is a black woman. The perpetrator is a white man whose family has law enforcement connections. Every attempt to press charges has been blocked. Sounds like a nightmare. Which is why I need the best. I'll cover all costs. I just need your name on the case so they know we're serious. Catherine was quiet for a moment. Send me everything you have. If the case is as solid as you say, I'm in. Third call was to his cousin Jean Ho, who worked in the district attorney's office. Jean Ho owed Jason several favors from the years Jason had helped fund his political campaigns. Jean, I need information on Deputy Chief Bennett and his family. Specifically, I need to know if there's a pattern of complaints being buried. Jason, if you're investigating a cop, I'm investigating a pattern of corruption that's allowed an abuser to walk free. Are you going to help me or not? Jean Ho sighed. Send me the details. Off the record, I've heard whispers about the Bennett family. Nothing concrete, but enough smoke to suggest fire. Then let's fan those flames. By 6 a.m., Jason had assembled a team. By 8 a.m., they'd started gathering evidence. By noon, the picture was even uglier than Imani had described. Marcus Bennett wasn't just an abuser. He was a serial abuser with a trail of women stretching back a decade. 3 ex-girlfriends, all with similar stories. Charm turning to control, control turning to violence, violence followed by intimidation and threats that kept them silent. 2 had filed complaints that were mysteriously withdrawn. 1 had tried to get a restraining order that was denied despite documented injuries. All 3 had been warned by Bennett family members that pursuing charges would ruin their reputations. Jason's investigators also found financial irregularities. Marcus worked as a loan officer at a bank owned by his uncle's friend. There were suspicious transactions, potential fraud, evidence of embezzlement that had been overlooked. Ammunition, leverage, justice. At 1 p.m., Jason called Imani. I found 3 other women, he said without preamble. 3 women Marcus hurt who were too scared or too unsupported to fight back. With your permission, I'd like to contact them. See if they'd be willing to testify if we can build a case strong enough that the Bennett family can't bury it. Imani's voice was shaky when she responded. There are others? Yes, and I'm sorry. I know that makes it worse, knowing you weren't the first. Actually, she paused. Actually, it makes me feel less alone, less crazy. If there are other women, if they saw the same patterns, experienced the same tactics, then it proves you were telling the truth all along. Yeah. He heard her take a deep breath. Contact them. Do whatever you need to do. I want Marcus to face what he's done. All of it. Then that's what we'll make happen. By day 2, Jason had secured signed statements from all 3 women. Catherine had filed a comprehensive criminal complaint with the state attorney general's office, bypassing local law enforcement entirely. The case included assault and battery, reckless endangerment, witness intimidation, and fetal homicide. Marcus Bennett was arrested at his office. Perp walked out in handcuffs while news cameras rolled. His family tried to intervene, but Jason had made sure the media was there. Carefully leaked information about the Bennett family's history of burying complaints ensured that any interference would only make them look worse. Deputy Chief Bennett suddenly found himself under internal investigation. Marcus's uncle at the bank was suspended pending review of financial irregularities. The entire corrupt system that had protected Marcus was crumbling. And Jason finally met Imani in person. She'd asked to meet at a coffee shop in Hyde Park, neutral territory, public enough to feel safe. Jason arrived 15 minutes early, ordering an Americano he didn't drink while he waited. When she walked in, he knew her immediately. Imani Foster was smaller than he'd imagined, maybe 5'4" in the ankle boots she wore under dark jeans. Her locks were pulled back in a high ponytail. The reddish-brown strands shot through with golden highlights that caught the afternoon sun streaming through the window. She wore minimal makeup, just enough to highlight the bone-deep exhaustion in her warm brown eyes. But it was the set of her jaw, the steel in her spine as she walked toward him, that made Jason's breath catch. This wasn't a victim. This was a survivor. There was a difference. "Mr. Kai?" she asked, stopping at his table. "Jason, please." He stood, offering his hand. "And you must be Imani." Her handshake was firm, testing. "You're younger than I expected. When you said CEO, I pictured someone older. I got an early start. Family business." He gestured to the seat across from him. "Can I get you something? Coffee, tea, chai latte with oat milk, if you don't mind." While he ordered, Imani settled into her chair, studying the coffee shop with the hypervigilance of someone accustomed to tracking exits and potential threats. Jason noticed but said nothing, returning with her drink and a blueberry scone she hadn't asked for but accepted with a slight smile. "You didn't have to do all this," she said after her first sip. "The lawyers, the investigators, getting Marcus arrested. That goes way beyond helping a stranger. It was the right thing to do. People don't usually go this far just because it's right. They want something." Her eyes met his, direct and challenging. "What do you want, Jason?" He appreciated her bluntness. "Honestly, I want to sleep better at night knowing I did something meaningful with the resources I have. After Minji died, I threw myself into work. Built my company bigger, made more money, acquired more power. But none of it meant anything because I couldn't save the one person who mattered most. So I'm your redemption project. No, you're your own person fighting your own battle. I'm just someone who refused to look away when I saw that battle." Jason leaned forward slightly. "But I understand if that makes you uncomfortable. If you want me to step back, just say the word." Imani studied him for a long moment, something shifting behind her eyes. "I spent 3 years with someone who made every kind gesture contingent on my gratitude, my compliance, my surrender. You're telling me I can tell you to leave and you'll just go without hesitation? That's either the most respectful thing I've ever heard or the best manipulation tactic. It's respect. You deserve agency, especially after having it stolen for so long." She took another sip of her chai, considering. "I don't want you to leave, but I need you to understand something. I'm not the woman I was before Marcus. I'm harder now, angrier. I don't trust easily, and I probably never will again. I have nightmares, panic attacks when someone moves too fast near me. I'm in therapy trying to untangle 3 years of psychological warfare." "Okay. That's it? Just okay? What else would I say? You survived trauma. You're dealing with the aftermath. That's not a character flaw, Imani. That's evidence of your strength." Her eyes shone with unshed tears. "Why are you so different from every other man I've met? Maybe I'm not. Maybe you just deserve to be treated like a human being with dignity and autonomy, and that shouldn't feel different, it should be the baseline." Imani wiped her eyes quickly, composing herself. "Okay, since you're here and we're doing this, I want to know more about you. Not CEO Jason Kai, just Jason. Who are you when you're not saving strangers?" So he told her about growing up in Seoul before his family moved to Chicago when he was 12. About his father, who'd built Kai Industries from nothing but died before seeing it become the empire it was today. About the pressure of being the oldest son, the heir, the one expected to carry on the family legacy. About Minji, who'd been brilliant and rebellious and determined to prove she didn't need the family name to succeed. How she'd fallen for a man who seemed perfect until he wasn't. How Jason had been too busy with acquisitions and board meetings to notice the warning signs until it was too late. "She called me the night she died," Jason said quietly. "Asked me to come get her. Said she was ready to leave him for good. I was in Seoul closing a deal. I told her I'd fly back the next morning, that we'd figure everything out then." "Jason!" She was dead before I even boarded the plane. He beat her so badly the coroner said she wouldn't have survived even if they'd gotten her to a hospital immediately. His hands clenched around his coffee cup. I was too late. I'll always be too late for her. But maybe I can be on time for other people. Imani reached across the table, covering his hand with hers. The gesture was tentative testing, the first time she'd initiated physical contact. Your sister's death wasn't your fault, just like my baby's death wasn't mine. We can't carry responsibility for other people's violence. Intellectually, I know that. Emotionally, he shook his head. It's harder. Yeah, it really is. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Two people bound by grief and determination to make something meaningful from loss. So what happens now? Imani asked finally. Marcus is arrested, but I know how this works. His family will hire expensive lawyers. They'll drag my name through the mud, make me out to be a liar, a gold digger, whatever narrative lets them paint him as the victim. Let them try. We have evidence. Medical records, statements from 3 other women, financial crimes that even the best lawyer can't explain away. And Imani, Jason's eyes hardened. I don't fight fair. If the Bennetts want to come after you, they'll find themselves fighting battles on multiple fronts. I'll make it so expensive, so public, so devastating to their reputation that backing off becomes their only option. That sounds almost scary. Good. Marcus terrorized you for years. It's time he learned what it feels like to be afraid. Imani smiled, and for the first time since they'd met, it reached her eyes. You know what? I think I'm going to like having you on my side. The feeling is mutual. The preliminary hearing happened 2 weeks later. Jason sat in the gallery, watching as Catherine Morrison systematically destroyed every argument the defense presented. Imani testified with a quiet strength that made Jason's chest tight with pride and fury. She detailed every incident. The first slap that came with apologies, the escalating violence, the systematic isolation, the night Marcus threw her down the stairs. Medical experts confirmed her injuries were consistent with her testimony. The 3 other women testified about their own experiences, establishing a clear pattern of behavior. Marcus's lawyer tried to paint them all as vindictive exes coordinating lies. But Catherine had phone records, texts, social media posts, a digital paper trail that proved these women didn't know each other until Jason's investigators contacted them. The judge ruled there was sufficient evidence to proceed to trial. Marcus was remanded without bail, deemed a flight risk and danger to the community. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Imani had agreed to a brief statement, standing straight-backed and proud as cameras flashed. For 3 years, I believed I was alone, that no one would believe me, that there was no point in fighting because the system was designed to protect men like Marcus Bennett. But I was wrong. The system failed, but people didn't. And today, I want every woman watching this to know, your voice matters. Your truth matters. There are people willing to fight for you if you're ready to fight for yourself. Jason watched from the edge of the crowd, maintaining distance to let this be her moment. But when she finished and the press scattered, she found him with her eyes, smiled, and in that smile, Jason saw everything that mattered. Resilience, hope, the beginning of healing. 72 hours after their first conversation had turned into 3 weeks. 3 weeks had turned into 2 months. And somewhere in the chaos of legal battles and press conferences, Jason and Imani had become friends. They met for coffee twice a week. Jason brought her books he thought she'd like. Imani showed him art from the therapy sessions she'd resumed, working with other domestic violence survivors. They texted randomly throughout the day, sometimes about the case, more often about nothing important. He learned she loved old jazz and contemporary poetry, that she could cook Caribbean food that made him rethink every meal he'd ever eaten, that she laughed with her whole body when something genuinely amused her. She learned he was addicted to terrible reality TV, that he played piano when he needed to think, that beneath his controlled exterior was someone deeply lonely, still grieving his sister, using work to fill the void where family should be. They were careful with each other, respectful of boundaries. Jason never pushed for more than Imani offered, and she appreciated the space to heal without pressure. But something was growing between them, something neither wanted to name yet but both felt. It came to a head 3 months after that first text, on the anniversary of Minji's death. Jason had told Imani he needed to take the day off, handle some personal matters. She'd respected that without prying. But at 8 p.m. his doorbell rang. He opened it to find Imani holding a bag of Korean takeout and a bottle of soju. "You shouldn't be alone tonight," she said simply. Jason felt something crack in his chest. "How did you? You mentioned your sister died in November, and today you look like you're carrying the weight of the world. Doesn't take a genius to connect those dots." She stepped past him into his penthouse. "So I'm here. We can eat, drink, talk about her if you want, or sit in silence if that's better. Your choice." They ended up on his balcony overlooking the city, sharing food and stories. Jason told her about Minji, not just her death, but her life, her terrible sense of humor, her talent for singing but complete inability to dance, how she'd always believed people were inherently good, even when they proved her wrong. "She would have liked you," Jason said as the soju bottle emptied. "She would have admired your strength. I would have liked her too." Imani huddled into the blanket Jason had wrapped around her shoulders. "I'm sorry you lost her. And I'm sorry that my situation brought all that pain back. Don't apologize. Meeting you, helping you, it's given me something I didn't have before. Purpose beyond profit. A reason to use my resources for something that matters. You matter too, you know? Not just what you can do for other people. You, Jason Kai, as a person. You matter." The words hit him harder than they should have. When was the last time someone had said that to him? Valued him as a human rather than a walking bank account? "Thank you," he said quietly. They fell silent, watching the city lights blur and sharpen as the soju worked through their systems. "I'm scared," Imani admitted suddenly. "Of what?" "Of this. Of you. Of feeling something again after I swore I was done with men forever." She turned to look at him, vulnerability stark on her face. "I have feelings for you, Jason. Real ones. And it terrifies me because what if I'm wrong again? What if you turn out to be another Marcus hiding behind a better mask?" Jason's heart hammered, but he kept his voice steady. "I can't prove I'm not. All I can do is show you through actions over time. But Imani, I need you to know. I have feelings for you too. And I'm scared as hell because I don't want to be another source of pain in your life. I don't want to push too hard or move too fast or do anything that makes you feel unsafe. So what do? We're honest. We go slow. We communicate." He reached out slowly, telegraphing the movement, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, he took her hand. "And we trust that two broken people can maybe help each other heal." Imani squeezed his hand. "I'm not ready for grand gestures or declarations, but maybe we could try dating? Real dating, where we figure out if this is real or just trauma bonding." "I would like that very much." She leaned her head on his shoulder, a gesture of trust that meant more than any kiss. "Okay then, let's try." And sitting there under the November stars, mourning the sister he'd lost while holding the hand of the woman he was falling for, Jason understood something profound. Sometimes the wrong number is exactly the right call. Sometimes tragedy creates connection. Sometimes broken people don't need fixing. They just need someone willing to sit with them in the darkness until dawn breaks. The trial was scheduled for January. Marcus's lawyers kept trying to delay, but Catherine Morrison was relentless. The case moved forward despite every obstacle the Bennett family threw up. Jason and Imani's relationship grew carefully, slowly. First dates that felt like interviews as they learned each other's triggers and boundaries. Conversations about trauma and healing. Therapy sessions they sometimes attended together to make sure they were building something healthy. The attraction was undeniable, but they both understood. Rushing toward physical intimacy before emotional safety was established would poison everything they were building. And they were building something real, something worth protecting, something that had started with a wrong number and evolved into the rightest thing in both their lives. If this story gripped you, if Imani and Jason's journey resonated, please hit that like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from and whether you believe in second chances, for victims to find justice, for broken people to find love, for wrong numbers to become right connections. Thanks for watching. See you in the next upload.